Hello and welcome to another video here at AV Forum. This time we're taking you through our recommended picture settings for the Hisense H65M7000 Ultra HD 4K TV. Now before we start, we should point out that these settings are based upon the TV that we reviewed and we tested with our calibration equipment. We can't guarantee these settings will make your picture better, they might make it worse. However, the majority of these settings are fairly general, they should apply to your TV as well. So the first thing we'll do, we'll go to the menu system by pressing the settings button on the remote control. An interesting little thing here, you can see it says history. These are the most recently selected settings. So if you want to get back into something specific very quickly, you could find it here under history. So for example, if you want to just turn local dimming on and off, you could go back into it this way. However, we're going to go into all settings and you can see we have a picture. Now we're going to show you settings for a day mode, a night mode, a game mode and also an HDR mode. So we're going to start off with the night mode, and we've used a cinema picture mode for this. We're applying it to all sources. Brightness is 51, contrast is 46, color saturation 44. We've set the backlight to 30, and then under advanced picture settings you can see we've got tint at 0, sharpness at 0. We've turned adaptive contrast off because that tended to crush shadow detail somewhat. And we've got color temperature at warm, which is the closest to the industry standard of D65. And then we've got ultra smooth motion off. Now that's for film-based content. Don't use it for film-based content, it'll make it look like video. But you can of course experiment with using it for maybe sports-based content, anything fast-moving. You might want to experiment with things that basically shot on video cameras. You can give it a go, see what you think. Although the motion handling on this TV was pretty good anyway, even with ultra smooth motion off. But definitely leave it off for any film-based content. Okay, now we've got local dimming. The local dimming isn't aggressive in any way. There's not a massive difference between having it on or on off, but we would recommend leaving it on. It gives you slightly better black levels. Noise reduction off. Color tuner. Now there were some minor adjustments we made in here, basically to red, where we set the hue to -2, and over at cyan, which we set to -2, and magenta hue is -1. And then down here we have the white balance control. Now interestingly, in here and not under the color section, you can select the color gamut. For this nighttime setting we're using BT709, which is Rec 709. And then you can see here we basically just needed to adjust the red gain -4 and blue gain to +6. And that gave us a pretty accurate grayscale. There is actually a 10-point control as well, but in this particular instance we didn't need to use it to get a pretty accurate grayscale, so this should be sufficient for a general recommended setting. Okay, so that's our nighttime setting. Now we're going to show you the daytime setting. So we go over to standard. We're using standard for this, so you can see it's a bit brighter. And then we've got, again, applying it to all sources. Brightness 51, contrast 45, color saturation 44. Backlight is now set to 48. And the advanced picture settings, again, tint is 0, sharpness 0, adaptive contrast off. Color temperature is still warm. Ultra smooth motion, again, for any film-based content, leave that off. Local dimming on. Noise reduction off. Color tuner, we're using the same settings here. So for red, actually red 0, cyan -2, and magenta 0. And then back. White balance. So again, we want to use BT709, and we've got offset at -5 for red, blue offset at -4, red gain at -3, and we've got blue gain at +6. And again, that gave us a pretty accurate grayscale, so you can use those settings. So that's our daytime setting. We're now going to change the source, and we'll show you a game mode setting and also an HDR setting. We've now switched to a different source, so we'll go back into the menu system. And this time we're using PC game mode. Now this mode reduces the input lag, and on this TV we measure the input lag at 37 milliseconds, which is pretty low. Not the lowest, but certainly good enough for most gamers, and even the most ardent gamers will probably find that low enough. So this is our game mode, so we're using PC game as our picture mode. Again, applying it to all sources. Brightness still 51, contrast 42, color saturation 44. We've got a backlight setting of 40 this time. And then under advanced picture settings, again, tint 0, sharpness 0. A lot of the controls here are grayed out because basically the idea is to minimize processing in order to keep the input lag as low as possible. So we're still using the color temperature of warm. Again, there's no overscan option, there's no ultra smooth motion option. Local dimming though is on, and that didn't make any difference to the input lag, so you can leave that on. Noise reduction isn't an option. Color tuning we didn't need to. Did we do adjust that slightly? Yes. Red, hue -2. Cyan, -2 for hue, and magenta -1 for hue. And then down here under white balance, we've selected BT709, and as you can see, we've got red offset at -6, blue offset at -2, red gain at -3, and blue gain at +5, and that gave us a very accurate grayscale. Now, I'm going to come out of this, and we're going to change the source again, this time for an HDR source, and we'll show you our recommended settings for an HDR mode. Okay, we've now switched to an HDR source, so if we go back into the menu system, down to all, and you can see it's detected the HDR source. It doesn't actually tell you it's detected an HDR source, there's no message on the screen, but if you go into the menu system, you'll see it's detected it, and it's gone into the HDR picture mode. Again, we're applying it to all picture modes, to all current sources. Brightness, this time is 48, contrast 37, color saturation 44, backlight is now set to 100. And under advanced picture settings, again we've got the tint at 0, sharpness at 0, adaptive contrast is off, color temperature is still warm, and then we've got ultra smooth motion off, local dimming on, noise reduction off. Color tuner we've left, and also under white balance we haven't used the grayscale with the white balance controls, but we have set the color gamut to native, which gives us a wide color gamut and actually tracks pretty accurately. So there you have it. Those are our settings for a night mode, a day mode, a game mode, and also an HDR mode. Thanks for watching.